trying to make a meal so I can change and act strange. Get a Andre 3000 wig with some bangs. I'll hang and bang your
All right, welcome back to the Fast Break. This is our trade deadline special edition episode. You saw the two guys on my right and my left, your left, my right, whichever way you want to look at it. On the episode that we just posted this week, I got Jacob and I got Luke with me. Not Nick. I got his name right this time. And we're just basically going to go over the trades from the trade deadline. And honestly, being kind of a younger person with a short memory, I think this may have been one of the craziest ones we've had since I've been following the NBA. There's obviously been blockbuster trades before at the deadline, but I don't know. A guy that's won an MVP before and a guy that's been on two, all-pro teams, with two teams that should be contenders, it's just kind of you never really seen so much shakeup in the league like this. So it was exciting. I was on Twitter all day yesterday, just looking for updates on the trade deadline. So we're going to talk about it, and I'm excited to get started. Alrighty, and so like I kind of alluded to just now, we're going to start off with that Simmons and Harden trade. So the Nets get Ben Simmons, who has not played yet this season, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, an unprotected first-round pick in 2022, and a protected 2027 first-round pick. So quite the haul, and the Sixers get the coveted James Harden and Paul Millsap. Respect to Paul Millsap.
Yeah, do not forget
Paul Millsap. Forget Paul Millsap. He's a part of that trade.
Even at 40 years old.
Even at 40 years old. You know what? The old guys still got it, you know?
40 for real?
No, probably not.
Okay.
I don't think so. But he is old. I mean, shoot,
he's definitely mid-30s.
He was on like those Hawks teams from back in the day with like Al Horford. The guy's been around the block. But and you know what? He's had some great years. But anyway, let's get to the trade. So, I mean, a lot of people are saying a win-win, realistically. And I do think it is a win-win. Now, there's varying opinions on who won more, but I think this deal does help both teams. So in my opinion, Ben Simmons hasn't played this entire year. He was not going to play with Philadelphia. He was dead set on sitting out. So I think it's a win for the Sixers that they unloaded him, and I think it is a win for the Nets that they're going to have a point guard that doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands, is a distributor, great defender. They're obviously getting a giant upgraded defense. And an underrated part of this trade is they got Seth Curry, who's a great shooter. So people are kind of overstepping that fact as well, too. I think he is a major asset as well. Andre Drummond, good rebounder. And then a couple of picks will be nice, too, for the Nets in the future. You know, never hurts to have a couple of picks thrown in. And, of course, the Sixers, they get James Harden, one of the best offensive players we've seen. Ever. Yeah. Thank you. And that pick and roll is going to be disgusting. And, of course, Paul Millsap. Now, I am going to defer to my Sixers fan, Jacob, here. And so what do you think about this trade? I kind of think it's a win-win. I tend to lean a little bit more towards the Nets just because, I know, kind of crazy there because the Sixers did get the best player in the trade. But I just like the addition of Seth Curry. I like the defense that Ben Simmons gives the Nets. And I just think that he's going to be a real asset, and he's going to play his butt off to kind of prove himself. How do you feel?
Well, yeah, I agree. I think both teams definitely gained from this. But I think it's a great trade for Philadelphia. I mean, I believe they're getting a top 5 player in the league when he's healthy, when he's motivated, when his hamstring is back and healthy. I think this no doubt puts them as title contenders. We can't forget that a season ago, Harden was in the same position. He just got traded to the Nets. There were dissenting opinions on why it wouldn't work, everything. But when it came around to it in March and April, James Harden was the MVP candidate, top 5 finalist. He was averaging 25 points, almost 9 boards and 11 assists with the Nets, playing great basketball. And he's continued that through this season. He's second in the league in assists again. Great distributor. And, I mean, the big thing, he's going to be motivated when he comes to Philadelphia. I think he's going to play his heart out. He has a new purpose. He was not happy with Brooklyn. He kind of forced his way out of there again. But I think he's going to like it here in Philadelphia. I'm really impressed with how much value Daryl Morey got out of this deal. We saw Simmons' value tank over the playoffs, over the offseason, when once teams actually knew that Simmons was demanding out, Sixers lost a lot of value there. There were reports of, and in the beginning, Sixers were hoping for maybe Dame or Harden or Beal from Simmons, but once that draft, there's not draft, but trade value went down, no, they were thinking about secondary players like John Collins, Halliburton, McCollum. So for Morey to go out and get a superstar, is amazing for a player in Ben Simmons who wasn't contributing to the team at all and really just kind of a dead spot on the roster. So outstanding move, I think. Like you said, the pick and roll with Joel Embiid and James Harden should be unstoppable. We saw Harden in Houston with Capella. There's probably, you can watch like a 4-hour highlight roll of their lobs and everything. So I'm excited, super excited. I think it's a great move for the Sixers.
Yeah, you get a movable big like that, like he had in Capella, which obviously Embiid takes that to a whole new standard. Not comparing the two, don't get me wrong, but I mean that pick and roll is going to be nasty. And I think good point. I mean Daryl Morey, everybody was like, why are you not taking these trades? Why are you not taking these trades? And you know what? The reason why Philadelphia moved mountains to go get Daryl Morey is because Daryl Morey will move mountains for you. I mean, we've seen him make some of the best trades over the last 10 years. He's a mastermind, and this just is another notch on his list of accomplishments. Because, I mean, what, a month ago we were talking about DeJounte Murray, Jacob Poeltl, and 3 picks. And now he's got James Harden. Unbelievable.
Well,
What do you feel about this from maybe the Nets' perspective?
Well, I first of all, I do want to say I totally agree with you guys. Daryl Morey, one of the best in the league by far, and everyone was pressuring him early on the season why he wasn't trading Ben Simmons for pennies, just because they needed to get him out of there and fix the culture. So amazing trade for them. For the Nets, this trade makes a ton of sense too, though. Harden wasn't happy, for one. And a lot of that has to do with Kyrie. He's still a huge question mark. But I think they're getting, and you kind of mentioned this too, they're getting a rejuvenated Ben Simmons. Yeah. Okay. As long as he stayed in game shape all season, which I believe he has, we haven't heard a ton from the Simmons camp.
Probably a good thing.
Yes. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we heard plenty from him in the offseason. As long as he stayed in game shape, I'm sure he's going to play ASAP and help the team in a variety of ways. Seth Curry strokes. I mean, he's an absolutely brilliant off-ball scorer. And here's something that not a lot of people are thinking about. When the Nets played against Giannis, played against the Bucks last year in the playoffs, they had no answer at center.
Yeah.
Andre Drummond is a big man.
Big body.
And he gets boards, and he plays interior defense. Yeah. So they finally got some sort of answer there. Claxton wasn't going to do it. He's too small. They finally got some sort of huge body while they're waiting on Brook Lopez to kind of help stop Giannis in the playoffs. I mean, I think this really helps them a lot in the playoffs. And the best part here is that Ben Simmons, the thing that he's been critiqued for so much, he doesn't need to score.
Yes.
He's got all-time scorers on his team.
Now he's got 2 of the best scorers in the league.
Yes.
Maybe of all time.
Maybe of all time. And he's got guys to facilitate to be able to shoot. I mean, don't forget, we've got Joe Harris on this team who's waiting to come back. We've got Seth Curry that they just got.
Young Cam
Spurs
Thomas.
Player. Yes.
Outstanding shooter.
Who am I thinking about? Australian old Spurs player. Come on, help me out here.
Patty
Mills.
Mills.
Yes, and he has been killing it too. Yeah. So they've got so many places to go with this. It is a huge upgrade defensively.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I think this trade for the Nets really puts them in a spot where it was like, I don't know, because they're really starting to fall off pretty hard with KD and Kyrie.
Talk about just a shot in the arm from just culture and attitude, really.
Yeah, so I think that this makes them championship ready. I do, straight up.
I think this made both teams significantly better because, first of all, Ben Simmons wasn't playing. So now the Sixers are actually getting a player that's playing. And to be honest, the Nets had a player that wasn't really playing either. Right. And when he was playing, he was kind of half-assing it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say ass. Now I've said it twice.
Well, you said it twice. So
there we go. Well, we're doubling down today, just like the Nets and Sixers. But now because they were getting pretty much a 0 from James Harden the last 2 weeks anyway, or plus that. So I think it just helps both teams quite a bit. But yes, I'm so excited on the next Fast Break to see how both of these teams play and how these pieces fit in the coming weeks. So that'll be exciting. All right, we've talked enough about Harden and Simmons. Let's move on because there was a bunch of other trades in the league.
Yes.
Let's move on to one that was quite a head scratcher for a lot of teams, and that would be Sabonis for Halliburton. Now, there's a couple other pieces added to it as well, too. But what an interesting trade. So, Tyrese Halliburton goes from the Kings to the Pacers. Domantas Sabonis goes to the Kings. The Pacers also get Buddy Hield, too. A lot of people aren't
underrated.
Not talking about that as well, too. Great three-point shooter. He can certainly add a lot of instant offense, so that helps him as well. Younger as well, too, just like Tyrese. So the Pacers actually got a lot younger and a little bit more dynamic on offense as well, too. I think it opens up a lot for Miles Turner. I think he's going to see a more prominent role now that he can actually play center. I think him and Sabonis did not work at all. So I think this is a total win for the Pacers. The Kings got rid of a young player in Halliburton, who I think is a future perennial All-Star. Second year in the league, he's shooting 45% from the field. His rookie year, he shot 47. A little bit more volume. Obviously, it's going to go down a little bit. He's young. 14.3 points a game. 7.5 assists, so he can really dish it as well, too. And he's shooting 41% from three-point this season. What are the Kings doing? I mean, I think it's a total win for the Pacers. Do you guys have any differing opinions? I'm going to start with you, Luke. How do you feel about this trade?
Well, I think it's certainly something to be said for losing Halliburton. That's huge. And someone who we kind of talked about off-air was so committed to Sacramento. When not a lot of people say the same.
Nobody wants to play in Sacramento. Halliburton wanted to play in Sacramento, and they traded him. He just had a quote about how he wants to change the culture and stay in Sacramento, and he's not going to be the same old Kings, and I'm going to change the culture. And then they were like, absolutely not, and they traded him a week later.
I had to hit that trigger button on you right quick.
Gosh, yeah, sorry, continue.
But the Kings, getting Domantas Sabonis, who is a stud. He's an all-star.
Oh, yeah.
He can get it done in a variety of ways, and he can rebound, he can dish. He's one of the best passing wing posts in the league, and he can score. Now, accompanied with, I'm assuming we'll talk about the 4-team trade later on, but accompanied with those additions for the Kings, they're kind of, it's very strange to me. They're kind of in like a win-now mode. They're currently in the 12th spot in the Western Conference. However, right above them are the tanking Blazers and the plummeting Lakers. So, and they could sneak into the play-in with this. They could. They got De'Aaron Fox. I mean, they've got some pieces around now, and we're going to see how Sabonis works because they've been looking for that big. And we know that Marvin Bagley wasn't it.
Nope, they
right?
Finally got him out.
Shipped him out, too.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to talk about that. But, yeah, I think that this puts a whole bunch of nice role-playing pieces in play, and then an all-star in Sabonis that they could sneak into the play-in and try to surprise some people. I don't see them going far, but they very well could do it.
I think it's a weird kind of all-in to make the play-in tournament. And honestly, Sabonis is right now a better player than Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes. Yeah.
Almost, I would say significantly. Sabonis is awesome. I wanted him on the Celtics.
Right.
I think Sabonis is an awesome player. He is going to win them games. Maybe this gets off a little bit of pressure on De'Aaron Fox. You know, sometimes when you draft a guy that should be playing the same position, it puts a little bit of pressure on guys. I mean, to throw an analogy to football, you know, Tua started playing pretty bad when they were trying to get Deshaun Watson.
Right.
Those trades fell apart. Tua started playing a lot better. Anyway, bringing it back to basketball. But, you know, sometimes it alleviates a little bit of pressure. You're like, okay, I am the guy. I'm going to be running, you know, the point for this team. So maybe it brings out a little bit more in Fox. It does add a little bit more value to them. And you're right. It does make them – they're probably going to make the play-in tournament now. I would assume so. I just think it's so short-sighted for the Kings in an organization that's, man, you got to get young guys – and get them together, because, like, what, Sabonis is going to be there 2 more years and be like, I don't like Sacramento, and he's going to leave. I just
Hot
don't,
take.
I just don't really get it.
Hot
to like.
take.
That's
I
a
mean,
huge
and honestly, now I'm gonna throw it to baseball. Being a Mariners fan. And having, I know. Hold on. And having a 20-year playoff drought. The Kings have the longest playoff drought in the playoffs, or in the NBA. So maybe they just were like, you know what? We need to give the fans something a little bit to get excited about right now, which is an odd thing to say because they just traded away their best young player. But maybe they're just like, yo, we need to sell some tickets. We need to get in a playoff series. Maybe it'll attract somebody to want to come here if we pay them a boatload of money.
Kings fans need something, man.
They need something, and honestly, Sabonis is a hell of a player. Like, they're gonna like Sabonis. He's an amazing, dynamic player. So, who knows? Maybe they see something that I don't with this Fox Sabonis combo. I don't know, but I mean, those are two pretty dynamic players coming at you. So
it just really is like a present versus a future. So one team's looking for their present, and then the other one's trying to build for the future in the Pacers.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I want to let.
Sorry.
I mean, I really think the Kings should be the ones looking for their future. The Pacers, they drafted an older rookie in Duarte. They got some good pieces right now with Brogdon, an all-star nearly. They have pieces right now. The Kings, I'm not really sure what they're doing. Like, I would have gone into rebuild. They're kind of are in a rebuild, but like, Halliburton was their best player this year. Yeah. He was only 21 years old. I mean, I understand they're getting 25-year-old Sabonis back, but just like, I think you said, like, perennial all-star. I think he's going to be a great talent. He is so versatile on offense, passing, shooting, driving. He helps the team out so much. I'm just not sure what they're doing here. I like it from Pacers' view, though. Yeah. I mean, it's a win now and build for the future at the same time. Because Duarte and Halliburton, I think that's going to be a really fun front court in the upcoming years and see where that goes. While keeping Turner there, keeping that paint presence.
Well, there's my question. So is Turner was not happy. Is this enough? Is this enough to salvage it?
He wasn't happy before. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he tweeted out that he was very happy about the trade.
So we'll see if this is enough to salvage it.
Yeah, just one more quick point on this. I do think we're going to find out now how valuable Miles Turner actually is.
Yeah.
Because, like I said before, you had two guys kind of trying to play the same positions, moving guys around. He's their center now. There's nobody else in that conversation. You got a nice young player you can run pick and roll with. I think we're going to find out if Miles Turner is actually like a guy that could be the third best player on a championship team, or a guy that is just a serviceable center that is just going to hang around for a few more years because he's a big body.
He's going to have a lot of space, and it's really time for his career for him to finally make the next step, hopefully, because it's coming down. He's been in the league for a while, kind of been in that same spot. So it's exciting. He's got more space. See what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. Blazers Pelicans. So we officially saw the Blazers blow it up this week. The Blazers sent McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell to the Pelicans. And the Pelicans sent Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and a first protected next year, protected picks 5 through 14. So, kind of interesting for both teams. I do like this from the Pelicans' perspective. They've been playing a lot better. They get the veteran, backcourt player who I think actually will probably bring in a little bit of stability to this organization. I mean, he's a guy that's been to the Western Conference Finals. He's a good scorer. He's not selfish. I think he'll help out their young guys. And this is a team that's actually on the rise right now. And when they get Zion back, if these pieces work together, we could be looking at a decently scary Pelicans team. And I do like the addition of Larry Nance Jr. as well, too. That was kind of like a little throw-in as well, too. I like Nance. He's a good player. And then Tony Snell, whatever.
Veteran,
and honestly, big. He's big. He's huge. And then the Blazers, Hart, good player, younger-ish. And he can shoot it. So he could be something that they keep moving forward, or trade him for a couple first-round picks. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, not nothing in there, and then Satoransky, not nothing in there. I understand it from the Blazers' perspective. I think they could have gotten more for McCollum personally. I don't know. I think there could have been at least a somewhat more valuable younger player in there, but I get it. You have to make a move, honestly. You couldn't just sit there and do nothing with it. You had to get rid of either Dame or McCollum, and it seemed like Dame's going to stick around, so it had to be McCollum. So I understand it for the Blazers. I don't know how much it really helps their rebuild, unless it depends how
people are saying rebuild, but that's not their intention this year.
Yeah, okay. Let's hear your guys' thoughts on this trade. I think the Pelicans. It was better for the Pelicans than it was for the Blazers. I think the Blazers are a little bit murky, kind of lost right now. And I do like the addition of McCollum and Nance to the Pelicans. I think those are two players that they can actually have for an extended amount of time going forward. So I do like that move for the Pelicans. Your guys' thoughts?
Okay. Well, do you want me to take the Blazers and you take Pellies? Or what are you more comfortable with?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. For the Blazers, a lot of people are saying they're blowing it up. It's a rebuild. No, I don't necessarily think that. Yes, they are they're selling the farm, except for Dame. But what they're trying to do is clear all this cap space. They didn't have room, like you said, that they couldn't get a better player. You're surprised that they weren't able to get something better. They want as much cap space and as far away from the luxury tax as possible. And they are looking for Bradley Beal this offseason. That's my personal opinion. There's also a conspiracy theory out there I just want to throw out real quick. Shout out to my buddy Reese, who's done a lot of Reddit research back home. But Jody Allen, the surviving sister of Paul Allen, who is the owner of the Blazers, going through quite a bit of legal issues right now, going through a lot of trouble. So there's a conspiracy theory that she's trying to sell the team. So maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I do know they're trying to build around Dame. And
I think where there's smoke, there's fire with the Jody thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Continue.
Absolutely. But this free agency class is not looking super impressive. It's not going to be very good in the offseason. Bradley Beal's at the top of the list. So I know that we're going to talk about another trade that hopefully makes Brad happy, but I think it's time for him to get out of there, and he would be a magnificent backcourt mate with Dame Lillard. Yeah. And they can just build from there.
Yeah, because that would be an upgrade, obviously, from McCollum.
Yes, you got a defender too.
Yeah, putting Dame and Beal together. How do you feel about this from the Pelicans' perspective?
I like this move. I think they knew McCollum was on the go. I think they really fit with the team, especially with all their young guards. Graham, Kira Lewis Jr. I mean, even Ingram, he'll be mentored by McCollum. I think this will help their offense a lot. One thing it doesn't do, though, is McCollum is not a defender at all, and that's really been a big problem for the Pelicans is they have been all offense. So it doesn't help their defense at all, but it does give them a player in the locker room that has playoff experience, is going to be a leader. I think they'll definitely help the team, especially with them at the 10 seed here. Maybe they won't even have to play a play-in game. Maybe they'll move up, but they'll especially make it in the play-in. So it's a good move forward for them. I think I really like their front court. Zion, when he comes back, is an animal. Just needs to stay healthy, keep the weight down a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's the big if.
Valanciunas, really good player. They got him from the Grizzlies. So, and then Herb Jones has played really well.
Herb Jones, showing some flashes. Well. I kind of like Herb Jones.
Yeah, great defender, really, so far. So, and they got Nance.
Yep.
Like you said, another defender. So, I mean, I think it was a good kind of evening out. Their front court and back court is now more firm. And I think they're just a better overall team. Still shaking the defense, but better overall team.
Yeah, they got better. And I think that's what they wanted to do. Because, I mean, honestly, for the Pelicans, with, an owner and GM and coach who, everybody's on the hot seat, I think it's a win now, and I think this helps them win now. So, I mean, if the trade does what you're trying to do as an organization, well, then I guess you got to chalk it up as a win.
Well, and they're also in that 11th spot. So they very easily could be in the play-in game. They could even make their way into the top 8 proper.
A lot can happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in 2 weeks.
Hey, if you can't add a lot of defense, let's just score more. Why not?
If you score more points than the other team, you're going to win.
That's right.
All right.
Don't forget that.
Let's move on to this Mavs and Wizards trade, which was a head-scratcher for me. So, if you're not familiar, the Mavs get Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans from the Wizards and the Mavs got
Wizards.
oh, jeez.
You're
I'm
good.
all
Wizards
messed up
get
here. Okay. Mavs get Dinwiddie and Bertans. Wizards get Kristaps Porzingis. So this was an interesting one for me. I did not think the Mavs were going to move KP. He's kind of a unicorn, but lately it's been a unicorn because you never see him. You rarely see him. And Dinwiddie has regressed, most would say. I think everybody would agree on that one. And Bertans, who was actually a pretty good asset of like a 3-and-D guy, is now just kind of not even making his threes, so there's not a whole lot of use to him. So this one's a head scratcher for me. I kind of like it from the Mavs perspective if Dinwiddie and Bertans play better. And sometimes a change of scenery is all you guys need, because I've seen flashes from both of those guys where they played really well. Of course, we've seen flashes from Kristaps where he's played amazing, but he hasn't been that player in a long time after the injuries. This is an interesting one. What do you guys feel about this trade? I'll start with you.
I mean, thinking about last offseason, there was a lot of talks about, are the Mavs going to keep Doncic and Porzingis together, or are they going to use Porzingis to find another two for Doncic? And, I mean, now looking at it, they didn't do either of those things.
Yeah.
They got rid of Porzingis, and they got back Dinwiddie and Bertans. Dinwiddie is an expensive player because he played really good with the Nets. And then Wizards got him, and he's really had a down season.
It's a tough contract.
Only like 12.6 assists this year averaging. So, I mean, could be a setting, of course. Maybe a new place. He will play better. But, I mean, I would have liked to see the Mavs go get a number 2 for Doncic, because Doncic is a once-in-a-generation player. They need to win with him right now. So, I don't love it. But like I said, I think Bertans, for the Mavs, I think Bertans in a new place, he's a heater, so he can really have these nights where he drops 8, 9 threes.
It's confidence.
He's going to win you guys games. So, I mean, that'll be helpful. I think it will hurt a bit for the Mavs losing Porzingis in the early on. But, I mean, I don't like Dinwiddie too much, so I would have liked to see the Mavs get a better 2.
Yeah, when KP did play this year, he was playing pretty well. So it's an interesting, but like I said, God, the guy can't stay healthy. So, what do you think about this trade?
Okay, so
he's got thoughts.
Yeah, I do have some
All
thoughts.
right.
I like this a lot more than you guys do for the Mavs. KP
Yeah, I said I liked it.
and Luka Doncic have had issues. It's been documented. KP wants to be number 1. That's just how it is, and he's not. Doncic needs the ball in his hands all game long. However, when he is out of the game, when he's taking a seat, you need someone to be able to take over and facilitate and run the offense. Enter Spencer Dinwiddie, who is only 2 years removed from a 20 points per game, 7 assists season. He tore his ACL in 2020. Tried to play 3 games on it on a partial tear. Didn't end up happening. Took him a long time to get back. So his shooting's not back yet. As you mentioned, Jacob, it's 12.6 points per game, 5 boards, 6 assists. That's not terrible for me. He's averaging right now 38 from the field, 31 from beyond the arc. So if he gets better, I think it'll be great for the Mavs. Yes, the contract is big, but he's going to offer some reprieve for Doncic, and that's what he needs. Luka needs someone to just take some pressure off of him. Bertans, sharpshooter, not getting a lot of minutes. I think that's why we've really seen the stats fall off.
He's a rhythm shooter.
Yes, he is a rhythm shooter. And what does Doncic love more than anything? Dribbling in, getting that penetration, and kicking it out to the 3 shooters. They've been trying to build that with Brunson. They've been trying to build that. Is Hardaway Jr. still there? Anyway.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. So they've got.
A lot of
they're building shooters around Doncic. He's going to have the ball in his hands the whole time. And as you mentioned, Kristaps, he was getting better, but his health has always been a concern. He only played 34, 55 games this year, and his three-point shooting has fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
He's 28.3% this year, boys. That's a career low.
And he loves standing out by that three-point line. And hey,
which is ridiculous, but that's okay.
The best ability is availability. So you know what? You know what? Yeah, you're right. I forgot about the injury with Dinwiddie. So that's why it has taken him a while to get back from. Now some players, an injury like that, a significant one, even though ACLs aren't as significant anymore. It can take a while, and some players never truly get back to that form.
No.
Hopefully not. I do like Dinwiddie. The thing about Dinwiddie, though, is, man, talk about running an offense. That guy will shoot, even if you don't want him to. He will shoot. I can't wait to watch a Mavs game, and Luka calls for the ball, and Dinwiddie just shoots it himself. That is going to be a sight to see.
I don't know. I think if he knows what's good for him, that won't be the case.
Well, he's done it. He's done it to Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
He will do it to Luka Doncic.
Well, Mark Cuban won't handle that for long.
Yeah, that's true. Mark will set him straight.
I don't know, though, if Porzingis is going to be enough for Bradley Beal to stay, though.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one for them. For Beal, I mean, it's all up to him. It's all up to him. They could blow it all up. But, yeah, that's an interesting fun one for the Wizards. This puts them in a really weird spot. What a weird roster that is. But,
They've been in limbo for a long time.
I mean, one question I had for you, Luke, since you kind of went into this one. So, right now, you say Dinwiddie will take the pressure off Doncic when he's on the game.
Okay.
Right now, Brunson was kind of that sixth man kind of doing that. So, how do they handle Brunson? How do they handle Dinwiddie? Do they play him at the same time? Does one of them assume a starting position? What do you think happens
Well,
there?
they're definitely gonna have to tweak some rotations, of course, but I don't know. I think they're going to be able to make it work, and also Dinwiddie could be in the starting lineup still.
Yeah.
So just as long as Doncic is getting the ball when he needs it, that way he can work off ball more too, which isn't usually his MO, but he can get open and he can hit spot up threes. So
he could be off the bench, and he could definitely be in a closing lineup with all those guys.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, let's keep it moving. We got some other trades to talk about.
Okay.
The ones from here on out a little bit less significant, except for the Clippers ones, which we did talk about last week. But we'll go over it again since it's part of the trade deadline, and this is the trade deadline special episode. So we got the Clippers receiving Norman Powell and Robert Covington. So that trade was with the Portland Trail Blazers, and so. Yeah, so the Clippers get Norman Powell, Robert Covington, and then the Blazers receive Eric Bledsoe, Winslow, and a 2025 second-round pick. So basically Norman Powell and Robert Covington for a bag of chips is what I'm getting here. Now, this all goes a part of Portland just saving a bunch of money, just getting a lot of cap space, which they certainly did. I'll say it again, like I said on the other trade. I feel like they could have gotten a little bit more, but it's all part of the plan.
Whatever that plan is, yeah.
But I'll say this: I do love this for the Clippers. Norman Powell and Kawhi are friends, good friends actually. They've gone on podcasts and talked about how they're good friends. Camaraderie is, you can't underestimate it in sports. Sometimes when a team just likes each other, they play better. But we're talking about X and O's here. No, and then Robert Covington, a solid role player as well too. So I do like it for them. What are your thoughts? Because you're a Clippers fan.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's incredible, and we kind of talked about it earlier this week. Robert Covington, a 3-and-D guy. Clippers hang their hat on defense, so I'm not mad about that whatsoever. Norman Powell as well, awesome defender, can also get you anywhere from 14 to 20 a night. Okay, so he is going to be a huge boost, and whether we kind of talked about it, I'm being optimistic, whether PG and Kawhi rush things and come back for a playoff run this year, or they let it slide and run it back next year with a bolstered roster now.
Yes.
They look
Loaded.
nasty.
Yeah.
They look nasty, straight up.
First game back, Powell drops 28.
Yeah.
He's like a top 5 debut for a Clipper of all time. The only other ones up there were like Kawhi, PG. It was like Powell, and then I think who was it back in the day? I can't remember. But there was some there was the debuts for the Lob City Clipper guys were all
Chris
up there.
Paul
But yeah, I love it for the Clippers. And yeah, so
It adds great wing depth for them, which is always great in the NBA. Especially
defense is
with
going to be stifling.
Yeah, and that's a great point, man. Next season, think about that bench unit. That's going to look like a starting unit on some bad teams. So add some great wing depth, especially with Kawhi and PG being injured this season. It'll keep them afloat in the regular season this year. Maybe get them into the playoffs at a middle seed, and they can make some plays with George and Leonard if they come back. So
I don't think
I like it as well.
Yeah. No, sorry to cut you off. I don't think they should rush the guys back for this year, but I honestly think that, if this could keep them for the rest of the year at 500 or a little bit above. And honestly, it never hurts to go to the playoffs and get 4 or 5, hell, even 6 extra games against a quality opponent, get that chemistry together, just so you have a little bit of, you've been in a battle before, Playoff experience is always valuable. So even if they don't want to rush those guys back this year, I think it's good, valuable experience for those other role players. But yeah, solid one for the Clippers there. Let's talk quickly about LeVert to the Cavs for Rubio and picks. Now, I like this. I like this trade for the Cavs. I think LeVert is a solid role player. And, the Cavs obviously had to get off Rubio. Sadly, unfortunately, he did tear his ACL. And
after having a great year.
Yeah, after having a really good year. I really liked Rubio. He is one guy I do, he's going to be a hot commodity because he's not a guy that needs the ball to be effective. And, so there's going to be a lot of contenders going into next year that will be looking at Rubio if they do want to deal him. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, picks are good for a team that's younger and trying to rebuild a little bit. And then LeVert for the Cavs, I think he steps in, gives them 12, 15 a night, maybe even more. I don't know. But I think he fits well with them. So this is a good one for them. Let's just move straight on to one that's near and dear to my heart. The Celtics dealt Dennis Schroeder for Daniel Tice. So I love this for the Celtics. Now Tice isn't like some massive upgrade over Schroeder because I think they're both effective players, but Tice, first of all, Robert Williams and Tice are best friends, which is one of those like weird friendships because Tice is German, Robert Williams is not German, and so they like just two completely different backgrounds, and they ended up just being friends because they do play the same position-ish, and so Tice takes over the Enes Freedom minutes, and he's done in the NBA possibly. We'll see if any team wants to pick him up. Not necessarily because of skill, mostly because of off the court stuff. But Tice is a significant upgrade at defense and 3-point shooting from Enes, and Tice is just loved in that locker room. And at some points, this Celtics team has had weird locker room issues. There's been some quotes for that. Now, since the new year, since about 2 months it started playing better, everything's good vibes. Winning cures all. But I think Tice is going to expand on that. And honestly, he was a beloved teammate, and I think he's a solid role player. So I do like this for the Celtics. Schroeder, you know what? You're welcome back anytime. You played well. But
I'm sure he'll be on the market next year.
You just had too many tough stretches, and honestly, you probably were going to ask too much money. Do you guys have any thoughts about this trade?
I mean, I think potentially Celtics found their point guard finally, or a consistent point guard for their future. Derek White, really solid player. He's been coached very well.
That's the trade with the Spurs. That's just coming up next too. But yes,
talking about Tice Schroeder.
But yeah, so
okay. Well, it's great to get rid of Schroeder.
Let's actually, good point.
Sure.
Let's bring that all in because they were like they were like a two-part trade. Because as part of dealing Schroeder, they wanted to get a point guard. So the Celtics also made a trade with the Spurs. The Celtics get Derek White, a really good young defender and scorer. So, not a great two-way player, but an awesome defender to add on to the #1 defense in the league. The Spurs get Josh Richardson, who actually played really well. Celtics fans loved Josh Richardson. And honestly, same with him. He's welcome back anytime. He just wasn't going to be able to fit with necessarily what we were doing. And we wanted to give some of the younger guys more minutes on the bench and get better at the top of our bench. Spurs also get Romeo Langford and a 2022 second-round pick. Langford, honestly, I can see him being actually good on the Spurs. He's a guy that just could not get minutes on this Celtics team, and he just seems like one of those guys that Pop is going to look at and be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get 15 points and some good defense out of you. So I'm actually excited for him. I think that is going to help his career. He just couldn't get minutes on the Celtics.
Hold on. With the second-round pick, I thought I read that they traded a 2022 first-rounder and then a 2028 first-round swap. Did you see that?
I saw a first-round pick as well.
Okay, so the swap is whatever it is, but
2028?
yes.
Okay.
So, and then a 2022 first-rounder. So
Interesting. I got some bad information.
No, that's fine.
There's
But
misinformation out there.
But they gave quite a bit.
It is
for
quite a
their point
bit
guard
for
in the
what?
future.
And Brad did say that this is not necessarily just for this year. Now, Richardson was a good player. Langford, we'll see what he can be. Obviously, like he had some rough growing pains and was in and out between the Maine Red Claws and the Celtics. So we'll see about that. And then, a couple more picks than I thought. So it is a significant amount, but I think Derek White helps us right now and for the future, and he could be our starting point guard going forward. And what this team has needed is a starting point guard. Right. And if this is the guy that for the next 5-6 years is going to run the point, play awesome defense, and give us 15 to 20 a night, sometimes you got to give up what you got to give up. So I'm perfectly happy with it. What are you guys thinking about necessarily maybe this trade for the Celtics and for the Spurs?
Well, okay. So I think
bring in the Tyson Schroeder part.
Yeah. So I think Tice is great. Just again to bolster the number one defense even more. I think again they look a lot better against the Bucks with that trade. Even though I'm so sorry, every time I think of Tice, I think about Kawhi Leonard absolutely ending him.
Yeah, that was tough.
Whatever. He's still a very good and serviceable center. Derek White. I mean, dude, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Those three right there. That's an awesome thing to think about for Celtics fans. So
for years.
Yes, for years. Yeah, that's the core.
Yeah, that's the core right there.
So
what were your thoughts? I'm sorry, I totally cut you off, but I thought it is kind of important to add those two trades together because it kind of.
I mean, they're both centered.
They're kind of around each other. So
yeah, they're both centered around the point guard position. They get rid of Schroeder's large contract, which they were looking to do. He's kind of just a fill-in player. I think it's great they found White. He's been coached well. He's going to be a really fundamental player, being with the Spurs organization for 3.5 years.
Great point.
I'm excited to see what happens here. Finally get that point guard. The rest of the roster is pretty filled out, I think, at least with the starters. Really good wing play, pretty good backcourt with Williams. So I'm excited to see how this goes. Spurs, I like that they got a first-round pick out of this. Their players are really starting to play well. Keldon Johnson's playing really well. Murray finally made his first All-Star game. Podol's really doing his thing. So I think the Spurs fans also like this trade. They get some future assets and potentially, they get that first-round pick. So
I think Langford's a good project for Pop. I think he's going to get a lot more out of him than we were getting, just because he's going to have a lot more time to get minutes down there.
Well,
it's
Pop always does.
Yeah, he always does. Josh Richardson was having a really good year with us, and picks. So I like it for both sides, and I love it for my Celtics. Now let's move on to that 4-team trade. I do not have the details down right here. Do you guys have that laid out for you?
I got you,
cool.
buddy. Okay.
Lead us away.
So the 4 teams involved here, we're talking Clippers, Kings, Pistons, and Bucks. The Sacramento Kings get Dante DiVincenzo from the Bucks. They get Josh Jackson, and they get Trey Lyles. Pistons get the disgruntled Marvin Bagley III, who Sacramento did not want. Marvin was sick of being there. Clippers get Rodney Hood, a good bench scorer, and Semi Ojeleye. And then the Bucks get Serge Ibaka, the rim defender they're looking for, and he can stretch the floor.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Yeah, I think interesting one for the Pistons, getting Bagley. Now, I don't know. I don't like Bagley. But we'll see. Maybe they get something more out of him, and he just was not happy in Sacramento. I love it for the Bucks. I think Ibaka gives them some size and just championship pedigree that will help them going into a second title run.
Yeah.
Because, bringing in a veteran that's done it, size, just smart player and just really solid.
And tough.
Oh my gosh, Serge is tough. So I think that's really solid for them. And you do have to switch things up between title runs. You know, you got to keep teams on their heels. And I love it for the Clippers too. So those are my thoughts on that. I like Rodney Hood. I mean, just really filling out that roster really nice and well for the Clippers there. So
yeah, Rodney is another really good wing defender. The Clippers get again, or not defender, but wing player. He's more of an offensive guy.
Yes.
But another really good piece for their team, and I like DiVincenzo to the Kings. The Kings really don't have many shooters now. Now that they got rid of Hield and Halliburton, Fox isn't the greatest. So, I mean, that's great for the Kings. I think getting a young DiVincenzo. Energetic guy, has been coming off the bench, so we'll see how his role plays in Sacramento. Ibaka, yeah, he's kind of just been like all around the league. He's been one of those guys that he's a veteran, gets on your team and helps your team win the championship. So I mean that doesn't hurt the Bucks at all. So they have a good amount of veteran players that have experience, and you know, they're looking good again this year for another run.
Yeah, good point. I mean, the Kings were getting a 0 from Bagley, so I think at least getting DiVincenzo back is...
Bagley is interesting.
We'll see.
I don't know how much
I have no idea how
they really have committed to him, because if they really wanted him to get minutes, I feel like they would have traded Grant.
Yeah.
So unless they have ideas of him coming off the bench, which is totally plausible with how he has played, maybe they'll re-sign Grant. I don't think that'll happen, but I mean it's promising.
DiVincenzo was a guy rumored to the Celtics, and I was kind of with it for the right. I was kind of.
I would have been with it too.
I was with it for the right price. So you know, decent move by the Kings, who, you know, we'll see where they're going. But yeah, cool. I mean, how were your thoughts on that one?
Well, I just want to say,
is there any big winners for you?
I mean, I'm happy for Marvin Bagley, one. But I think Serge Ibaka definitely it's another veteran that's going to help propel them to another championship. Kings, again, we mentioned it earlier. They've added some pieces. Don't sleep on Trey Lyles, by the way. He's averaging like 11 in Detroit, and he offers a lot of good versatile skills. So Josh Jackson can come off the bench too. He used to have a lot more potential, but it's kind of just been coasting. But the Clippers, Rodney Hood. it's like the rich get richer, man. Yeah. So their depth is just, we mentioned it before, but their depth is ridiculous now. So yeah, that's about where I'm at.
Cool. All right, well that's basically all the significant ones that happened. There might have been a couple ones around the fringe. You can look those up for yourself if you're so inclined. But this was awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully you like the new design. I'm going to try and get different jerseys every week, but you know, I had to spruce it up a little bit, you know, especially with it being a special episode. So cool. That was the Fastbreak Trade Deadline episode. Stay tuned. We're going to have another regular episode of the Fastbreak for you next week. Have a good night, and make sure to follow other Cable 8 shows, like, subscribe, share it with your friends if you liked it. Alrighty. Thank you.
Yeah. See, I told you I was